When my wife, Emily, made that joke, I thought I'd misheard her. We were at a Saturday neighborhood barbecue. Couples laughing, kids running between picnic tables. The kind of afternoon where everyone pretends life is perfect. I was flipping burgers on the grill when she leaned toward our neighbor, Ryan, and said loud enough for half the yard to hear, "Maybe we should trade husbands sometime. James could use a lesson in how to be fun." The laughter that followed wasn't friendly. It was sharp, the kind that stings before you can even process it. Ryan gave an awkward smile. His wife, Claire, froze mid-sip of lemonade, and I stood there gripping the spatula like it was the only thing keeping me steady. Emily didn't stop. She doubled down. "Oh, come on, lighten up. It's a joke." Her voice had that teasing lilt, the one that always carried more truth than humor. I forced a laugh because that's what you do when you're married long enough to know which arguments aren't worth starting in public. But inside, something small cracked. It wasn't the first time she'd embarrassed me, but it was the first time she'd done it so deliberately, with an audience. Claire looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Ryan finally broke the silence. "Some jokes hit different when they come from the person who's supposed to have your back," he said quietly, his eyes on the grill instead of Emily. The air shifted. Everyone heard it, that subtle shift between banter and tension. Emily's smirk faltered for half a second, but she quickly hid it behind her wine glass. I finished cooking, handed out the burgers, and avoided her eyes. Through the rest of the afternoon, she acted like nothing had happened. Laughing, gossiping, leaning in close to people while I cleaned up plates and folded chairs. The performance was flawless, and that used to be one of the things I admired about her. Not anymore. When the crowd thinned and twilight painted the fences orange, Claire walked over. "You okay?" she asked softly. "I'm fine," I lied. "She shouldn't have said that," she whispered. Ryan was furious about it. Said if I ever joked like that about him, we'd be having a different kind of barbecue. I gave her a tired smile. "Thanks, Claire, but I'm used to it." That night, Emily was scrolling through her phone in bed, laughing at something on social media. I sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at the faint reflection of the two of us in the dark TV screen. "Do you realize what you said today?" I asked quietly. She barely looked up. "Oh my God, are you still on that?" "It was a joke, James." Everyone laughed. "Not the people who matter," I said. She sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "You're too sensitive. That's your problem. You always take everything so seriously." I turned off the lamp, but the words stayed lit in my mind long after the room went dark. By morning, she'd already posted photos from the barbecue, captions about perfect summer vibes, and the best neighbors ever. She didn't tag me in a single one. 2 days later, I came home early from work. Ryan's truck was in his driveway, hood open. I went over to return a tool I'd borrowed. Before I could hand it to him, he said, "Man, you handled that barbecue thing better than I would have." I shrugged, not sure what handling it even means anymore. He wiped his hands on a rag, then looked straight at me. "You know, Emily stopped by here yesterday. Said she felt embarrassed, but the way she said it didn't sound like she was sorry." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. "She laughed about it. Told Claire she was just testing boundaries, seeing how far she could push before you pushed back." And that's when something inside me changed. It wasn't anger. It was colder clarity. That night, I didn't confront Emily. I didn't yell or demand answers. I simply watched her. She was humming in the kitchen, pouring wine, acting like the world revolved exactly the way she wanted it to. That was her gift, control through charm. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small under it. I felt awake. The next weekend, Ryan and Claire hosted a small dinner, 6 of us, including another couple from the block. Emily insisted we go. "It'll be good to smooth things over," she said, slipping into her favorite red dress. I could tell she thought of it as another performance. Ryan greeted us at the door, polite but distant. Claire's smile was warm, but her eyes were searching, maybe wondering if Emily would behave herself this time. Dinner started light. Jokes, stories, clinking glasses. Emily was in her element again, drawing attention, laughing a little too loudly. I stayed quiet, letting her think I was still the patient, harmless husband. Halfway through dessert, someone mentioned that barbecue. The air thickened just slightly. Ryan leaned back in his chair. "Oh yeah, that was the day Emily wanted to trade husbands," he said casually. The table went still. Emily froze, fork halfway to her mouth. "It was a joke, Ryan. You know that." He smiled, not kind, not cruel, just measured. "Sure. But the thing about jokes is, sometimes they say the truth in a funny way." Her face tightened, but she kept her composure. "You sound like James now, always reading too much into things." Ryan nodded toward me. "Maybe you should start reading into things before you say them." A silence hung over the table, heavy and awkward. Emily's confident grin faltered for the first time since I'd known her. She looked at me, expecting rescue. I just met her eyes and said, quietly, "Some jokes stop being funny when everyone sees the punchline." Claire cleared her throat. "Coffee, anyone?" Everyone welcomed the distraction. On the way home, Emily was fuming. "What the hell was that about? You just sat there and let him humiliate me." I kept my eyes on the road. "You humiliated yourself." "Excuse me?" "At the barbecue. Dinner. Every time you turn me into a punchline, Emily. You think people are laughing with you, but they're laughing at you, and they're watching me to see when I'll finally notice." She went quiet, then said in a low voice, "You're really overreacting." I almost laughed. "Maybe, but I'm done reacting. That's the difference." When we got home, she stormed upstairs. I stayed in the driveway, leaning against the car, listening to the night. The porch light flickered, something I'd been meaning to fix. Funny how you ignore the small signs until they stop working altogether. Over the next few days, I stopped trying. Stopped asking where she was going. Stopped pretending things were fine. She noticed the silence and hated it. One evening, she confronted me. "Are you seriously giving me the cold shoulder now? Grow up, James." I looked up from my laptop. "No, I'm giving you space. You always said you needed that." She blinked, not sure how to respond. For the first time, her power didn't work. A week later, Ryan knocked on my door. Didn't want to say this before, but Emily came by again. Said she felt like she'd lost control of you. Like you were slipping away. I smiled faintly. She's right. That evening, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic. Just the essentials, a toothbrush, a few shirts, my laptop. When Emily came home, I was at the door. "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Somewhere quiet," I said. She laughed nervously. "You're joking, right?" I met her eyes. "No, Emily." I finally stopped being the joke. For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Her face paled, eyes darting as if searching for a script she hadn't prepared for. And then, like fate wanted to underline the moment, Ryan's voice carried from across the street. He was calling to his wife, but the words hung in the air just long enough to land. "Claire, you were right. Some jokes really do reveal the truth." Emily turned toward him, realizing he'd heard everything. Her posture stiffened, mask cracking just slightly. For once, she had no audience left to perform for. I walked past her, down the driveway into the night that finally felt honest. Behind me, the door didn't slam. It just clicked shut. Small, final, like the sound of a curtain falling after a long play. And that was it. The laughter, the control, the show. All of it ended with silence. Because sometimes the loudest apology is the one that never comes.